YapZ. I'm here with Giuliano from Pintree. What's up, Giuliano? How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. It's a beautiful day here. I know you said it was a warm day where you are as well. So good to be outside, get the fresh air. Excited to talk to you today. Excited to chat a little bit more about Pintree. And I would just love to get like a little intro if you want to share a little bit more about yourself and who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Giuliano. I'm originally from Brazil. Um, and I went to school in the Northeast at MIT. Um, and been in tech for a long time. Funny story. I was really early into AI, and now AI is the hot thing. So I studied with Minsky, who created the field of AI, who was head of CSAIL for a little bit, and then Winston, who was head of CSAIL, which is the AI lab at MIT. Worked, in my master's with him, um, and I also wrote a book about AI, which is kind of
What's
interesting.
the book called?
Making things think. Um, And funny story as well. I got into Transformers, the Teen GPT, Chat GPT, which is the type of neural network that is used really early on. So on GPT-2, I realized, oh shit, this is quite interesting because DeepMind was using a similar neural network architecture. I wrote about it. The post went completely viral. It was like explaining Transformers. Got maybe 500,000 views or million views on the internet. It's one of the most popular posts on Transformers. And I also taught one of the co-founders of Anthropic how Transformers work. He was like in the same community as me in SF. He joined OpenAI, was the co-author of GPT-3, and eventually joined Anthropic. But I'm like a very markets driven guy. I love markets, and I mean, as many people got like understood Bitcoin crypto early on. Uh, I eventually learned about Bitcoin and crypto in 2012. I mean, got introduced maybe even before, even in college, because it was funny when I was doing my master's. One of the guys in the group that was in the AI lab, he was mining Bitcoin in his own computer. I was like, oh, this the guy was like pretty nuts, but he's like extremely smart. One of the
Yeah, people tend to
smartest.
be.
Yeah, I mean, to have an idea, he started a company that Minsky used to talk about this, like freezing brains. So he started a company that was funded by Theo and Sam Altman, I think, as well, to like freeze brains after death. So he
Nice.
does work with like pigs and stuff. Um, but yeah, so he what and a few friends of mine were like early at Coinbase, like really early at Coinbase, like fifth guy at Coinbase. um but I think the concept, like the Bitcoin concept and eventually crypto, clicked to me um later on, maybe in 17, 16. um and I really got into like a lot of the Bitcoin, understanding Bitcoin, how it works and everything. um at that time, the only thing is that I just didn't have much money to invest, because I started my company back in 13. I had my startup back then. um Eventually joined other startups, um and eventually moved down to the Bay Area to work in a startup. uh like started working with them when they had the first customer. The company is called Transcend, and they work in basically helping companies with privacy related stuff. So I started when they were like just with one customer, and end up becoming director of engineering, and leaving after their Series B. Um, so I directed a few teams there, um, and at the end was like three teams, and I mean I really like love crypto in general, Bitcoin and crypto, because as I mentioned, I'm like really into markets and the economy and things like that. And I think a lot of crypto, it is about markets. It's about, um, it's all about markets, I think, at the end of the day. And so um, in like a year and a half ago, I met up with Android 16. I was like, oh, I'm working on this idea, and we jammed together. And we've been working full time basically in the past year. So we've been working a lot this past year full time. Um, and uh, so we started with basically, the on-chain platform for video creators, to give them control of monetization, distribution, um, and content ownership. Um, and we've been working on the product since then. It's Startups are an interesting journey. They are hard, like they're really hard. Um, and it reminds me of the days of math Olympiads, because I'm like a math Olympiad.
Huh.
Um, I'm like, I did a bunch of Olympiads, like science Olympiad. I did like physics, chemistry, astronomy, informatics, and math. But like, I think
And
math
that
was,
was all in Brazil.
yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
And I won a bunch of medals. So um, uh, Math was like the hardest to me. I think I was the best in physics.
Huh.
Um, but like math, I think I'm like the I think it's the hardest subject of all, and because of that, I was able to go to school here in the U.S. So I ended up going to school there in Boston. I
Yeah, I've
actually,
traveled around the the MIT grounds a lot. I had a summer school actually there because I'm from the suburbs of Boston. So like definitely spent my share of time there. Definitely yeah, beautiful area to go to school in the US.
yeah, I mean, I was looking at it and like looking at the other schools there in the Northeast. I'm like, I'm very lucky to have gone there, because like I end up only applying there because the other schools here, like my English wasn't good enough. I was like good enough to pass to get the minimum score. MIT had a score that was lower than other schools, um, and my math and physics and everything, I scored the maximum, but like just English was like really low. And funny enough, I almost went to Tokyo to study as well,
Huh.
instead of MIT, but my English wasn't good enough to learn Japanese in English. But it was good enough to come to the US. But I had trouble at the beginning, because it was like trouble, meaning it was like hard. Like to take classes that were more focused on like not non-science stuff. Um, but yeah, like I was just talking to Android about this, and like startups remind me a lot of like math Olympiads, because it's like it's intense, it's hard, and and
Do you want to give an explanation of what a
yeah,
math Olympiad is for people that might not know that?
yeah. So like math Olympiads, they it depends on the type of like they're how like there are different kind of Olympiads. Like the main one in high school is like the International Math Olympiad. Um, and what usually how this usually works, that you have tests, and you have like maybe, so like the Brazilian Math Olympiad, you have 2 days, 4 hours and a half, I think that was it. Each day is 4 hours and a half of a test, like you do it over the weekend. And each day you have like three problems, and you basically have to solve them, and they're pretty hard. So like
Yeah.
you may have like a problem in geometry that's like you need to like figure out the solution, things like that. um And like, for example, different olympiads have like different kind of tests and things like that. So like chemistry, for example, has um, the practical part where you actually have to, do stuff, uh, but you also have like the written test. um, Physics as well, you have like the practical one and you also have the written one. um, like depending on the olympiad. There are olympiads that have less money, so they only have like written tests.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, and like they basically, the top ones get medals, the top students, and you may have like different stages. So like math olympiad in Brazil had 3 stages, so you can parse out people. um, and because of that, I think, that allowed me to go to MIT. But Olympiads, they are like extremely hard if you want to be the top of the game. It's like Olympiad in the real world, it's also really hard. It's like it's intense, and like you're basically
Yeah.
competing with the best in that field. And one thing that people don't talk about that's interesting is that for Olympiads, there are personality traits that make some people better than others. Um, like
Yeah, and
there,
I can see how
yeah,
that applies to startups really well, right? Because it's about that like tenacity of consistency in one aspect, as well as the ability to showcase skill at a specific moment and value, right? And I think that's really interesting to learn more about the Olympiad. I don't know if I had any of that growing up, or maybe that was just the standardized testing in the U.S. and the highest people would do that. But no, that's really cool to hear, and I could see that parallel to then the startups. It sounds like you've been in startups for quite some time, right?
yeah, I've been, yeah, with Olympiads, they're like in the US, you have like people also doing Olympiads here in the US, and they go to, the international ones, and the US is like usually the top one or second, depending. It's like US and China, like always, first and second. Um, but yeah, it's like with startups, it's I think there are traits that are like a bit different. I think resilience is like a big thing. Paul Graham has an essay about this, where he talks about what he sees of like founders, what makes great founders. And it's kind of funny because he also talked about Sam Altman being a great founder and being at the top, like like Steve Jobs, and uh, and when I read the first time, I'm like, I don't know if he's like saying like if this is true. And now you see OpenAI, right? Like they just raised, uh, apparently, uh, he was talking about raising, or like in the news, people were talking that they raised 100 billion at $150 billion valuation. Um, and yeah, there's like consistency. There are a few traits that are like pretty important. I think the most interesting or most important trait that I think it's like this resilience that and also um, being able to handle the ups and downs of startups, because there's like a lot of ups and downs, and it's pretty hardcore. um, but yeah, I've learned a lot uh, at Transcend. So like the founders are amazing. Like they are like, I love them, and like they are great people in general. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. It's pretty hardcore. um and so when like when people mention, oh, this startup, like they should have done this or that, it's like when you are at the game, it's like it's completely different, but yeah, that's a little bit more about me, and my background, and
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to play armchair quarterback from the other side of the internet, right? So I can understand that a little bit in just watching in my experience. I'd love to talk a little bit more about you, Android 16, and Pine Tree. Share a little bit more about what you guys are building, what you guys have been working on here. I know you shared a little bit about it, but let's dive in deep.
Yeah, yeah. Just a side comment on the quarterback armchair. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've been following on Farcaster, but there has been a discussion of it because Ben was talking about it. Uh, and in some ways, I agree. Like when you are at it, it's like completely different than when you're not building it. So I agree with that. I think there's also points of like feedback and things like that some people like. It's important to listen to people and what they are saying and things like that. um so like I think there are the two sides of the coin, one side is like, as I mentioned, like it's really hard to build a startup. um but also on the other side, um the it's important to listen to what people have to say because some people may be right about stuff, um so that's that. In terms of what we're building, we're basically, as we mentioned, basically uh giving creators a lot more uh ownership of monetization, distribution, content ownership. I think what we're gonna focus a lot more is monetization. So right now, distribution. There are like lots of platforms where you can get distribution, but where crypto really shines is on monetization. So we're gonna focus a lot on monetization um, in the coming months. So like, how can we make, for example, a creator monetize a lot better their content and things like that. Um, so we're gonna focus a lot on that in the next year. Um, and yeah, so that's a little bit more right now. Creators can, it's very simple, and we integrated a lot with Farcaster. That was like our initial go to market. And we're going to expand our go to market now that we're uh, uh, in this coming year. But we're going to help creators monetize a lot more, so making sure that they can make money very easily, and much more easily than with other platforms. And um, so that's where we're gonna focus on the next, in the next year. But yeah, that's a little bit more about Pinetree. Right now, creators can create long form videos, like short term form videos. There are comments. People can create live streams and things like that, and you can search, see profiles. So it's very simple for now. And now we're like, because we built kind of the infrastructure for creators, now we can focus a lot more on on the monetization side. So that's where we're going to focus a lot more, and maybe be able to use other distribution channels, like X or YouTube or whatever, but still be able to monetize through our platform.
No, I like that a lot. I think there's a lot of benefit to creators, for bringing that profit margin to them and building in that monetization. I think a lot of crypto rallies around that. Like you said, there's a lot of pros and cons of that incentivization through monetization as well. And I think there's so much that can be captured there. But the really amazing thing is, when you get distribution. I think everyone, as an artist, and everyone that is looking to make sales, that distribution mechanism and funnel is such an important thing. And building on top of that, like you said, growing it on something like X or YouTube and being able to pull that in, I think could be a huge step towards that, because anything that helps distribution, I think, is something that artists will start to flock towards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's that. I mean, that's what we're building. We've been building for a year. So we've been heads down, building, creating the product, talking to customers, um, and yeah, and um, it's like a iterative process, like you talk to people, you figure out, oh, okay, this is what's happening, you look at the data, you look at what's going on, and then you improve over time. And I mean, that's the whole process of like building products. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It was awesome to have you. Do you want to share a little bit more about where people can reach out to you, where people can check out Pine Tree?
yeah, I mean, they can go on pinetree.so, and it's yeah. I usually share links on Farcaster as well. There's a mini app there, but yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome. Yeah, and your Farcaster username is just GIU
Yeah,
right in there. So people should check out your Farcaster to get in contact with Giuliano. Is there anything you want to share here with us in the last bit about Pine Tree, about yourself? Something you want to share with us as we're leaving here today?
yeah. I mean, not much. I mean, we probably will have more news, in the coming weeks or months. So I've been heads down, building a
Heads
lot.
down building. That's the best thing to do in this time period with where crypto's at, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So if there's more, we'll share more stuff. But yeah, we're heads down building.
I
Yeah,
love it. Heads down building. That's the best thing you can be doing nowadays, especially with all the advances in everything, whether you look at but on the actual tech side, the product side. So continuing to build and iterate on the product. Love to hear it. We love to hear all of our artists and builders out there doing that. I appreciate you for coming on today, Giuliano. And
awesome,
yeah,
awesome
have a
talking
great
to you.
rest of your day here.
All right.